shall I render to the Lord for all his bounty to me?
Welcome to Veiled in Grace. I'm Kyra.
And I'm Anna. We are Cradle Orthodox Christians.
And we're here to talk about what it's like to be Orthodox women
in a very non-Orthodox world. Today, we are going to discuss the sacred first 40 days postpartum. And it's been, that 40 days has been treasured through the church history, but oftentimes our modern culture forgets it and expects us to bounce right back and have it all together. When reality is not so much. It's a time of recovery and healing, spiritual growth, and it should be seen as a gift, not a punishment, but just to have that opportunity to relax and bond with your baby and with your family in general. So we have many recurring themes of 40 days in Scripture. We take the tradition from the Old Testament first, and even though Christ fulfilled the Old Covenant, there are a few reasons why we still observe and honor this time.
I just got puked on.
Oh no. Be right back.
I wasn't prepared.
Yes, see, there's the smile. It's coming back.
She's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, it's all right.
And you'll be okay if I sit down.
Yeah, yes.
You'll be just fine. You'll be just like this, but sitting. Yeah. We'll try.
Big sigh.
Anna's going to tell us about why you didn't come to church for 40 days. Okay?
Yeah.
She's like, okay.
So as we get the happy baby back, so yes, Leviticus 12 gives us the reference for the time of purification after childbirth, 40 days for a male child and 80 days for a female. Also, we have Noah and the flood. That was 40 days. We have Moses on Mount Sinai, 40 days. Elijah's journey, 40 days. Christ fasting in the wilderness, 40 days. Christ's ascension after 40 days. And we also have the Holy Virgin Mary fulfills this time with Jesus Christ, and we honor and remember her as seen in Luke 2:22. So we see that 40 days is a pretty holy number in the church and in the Bible, and we see it throughout the Old Testament and New Testament. So the church adheres to the 40 days for a lot of varying traditions. And so it represents preparation as well as transformation and renewal. So during our postpartum, we can try to focus on that. You know, we're healing, we're bonding, and we're preparing ourselves to get back into the world.
Yeah. And the problem is that if you aren't taking that time to prepare yourself, and you might feel like you're ready to jump back into the world, and then you do, it usually comes back to bite you in the butt later. Because when you aren't taking time to prepare yourself for the future, you aren't setting yourself up for success. It's like running a marathon. You might feel okay to run a marathon. You might physically be able to run a marathon, but if you try to, without having prepared for it, while sure you maybe will succeed and finish it, your recovery afterwards is going to come back and be much more difficult than someone who set themselves up for success.
Right. And especially with the first baby, because you don't have any other children to take care of. Mm-hmm. It's all new. You might physically feel good very quickly. Your body kind of does seem to bounce back a little quicker the first time around. So it's, you know, you get antsy, you know, you might be bored at home. It might be your first time at home. I personally, as an introvert, I was fine being at home alone, but I know some people that's not, you know, easy for them. And, but I do remember like going out and doing something pretty early on and kind of regretting it and feeling like, yeah, I don't know. It just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
And I felt like, no, I should just be at home. It's
Your overprotecting mama senses
Yeah.
also set in once you go out in public and you're like, we shouldn't be here. There's
Yeah.
people around us.
right. Even
not
if I had
not
them
of, like
in,
a fear of, like, not even a specific fear of something bad happening, but just the sense of like, I feel vulnerable when
Yeah.
I'm
And
out
it-
in the open.
and a newborn is so sacred,
Yeah.
you know, that like they just want to be with their mama in quiet and around people who know and love them.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, you don't realize, like, you might feel good right away, but the babies go through so many leaps and ups and downs and changes that, like, you might think everything's great one week or one day, and then the next, it's a totally different situation. So there's a lot of sleep deprivation, and not to mention hormonal shifts that, you know, the first 2 weeks you can experience more of the baby blues. And so it's important to keep people around at that time. I remember, I think it was my, I don't remember if it was my, I think it was my third baby, and my husband he had a wedding that he was gonna try to go to. And he's like, I'll only go like for the wedding part and I won't stay long, you know? And I was like, yeah, it should be fine. And I was
be
fine.
okay.
And then all of a sudden, like hormonal shift, and all of a sudden I got really like, I need someone here now. I'm starting to get really like anxious and weepy. And so I like texted him. I was like, you need to come home now. Like, cause I don't want to spiral. You know, I felt myself about to spiral. So I like just put on like a happy video or something to keep myself distracted and happy. You know, obviously you can pray, but sometimes when you start spiraling quick, you need something to like really snap you out of it and change the subject. That whole like, don't nurse your baby to sleep because then they'll get dependent on it. And then you're like, please nurse to
That
sleep.
was my first baby that I was like, we're not supposed to be nursing our babies to sleep, says the internet. And I'm like, okay. Like, I don't even know how many crazy months later, I was like, why are we not nursing our babies to sleep? I feel like I remember asking you that and you were like, we are. And I was like, okay, well, that changes everything. So did you feel like for your postpartum, the experiences were similar and that you had similar feelings each time?
No. It's like I said, in the last episode, like how my anxiety kind of worsened with each pregnancy and birth. So then my postpartum, I was definitely dealing with different feelings and emotions and even physical issues. Like my first, I definitely, like physically, I felt pretty good pretty quickly. Even though I did have such a long and hard labor, I was younger, probably in better shape and not as tired, you know. But breastfeeding was pretty difficult the first 2 weeks. And so there was lots of times where I was like crying and it hurt really bad. And, you know, we were just trying to find our way. And it was summer, so like I wanted to be outside or like go for a walk, but it was just, you know, I was just crying, you know, because it was, you know, so intense.
I feel like that makes a huge difference when you can get outside, because none of my babies were born in the middle of winter, but I don't know if I would have handled that very well, because around here, the middle of winter, yeah, you can go outside, but we have like 5 feet of snow. So you usually aren't out like on a super long walk when you have a 1-week-old baby. But in the summer, you can at least go out and like sit a chair out and soak up some sunshine.
Right. And that definitely helps your mood. Because, yeah, with my second, he was born in the middle of February. And the day after he was born, a huge snowstorm came through. So, like, my midwife couldn't come. My goddaughter, who's the godmother of my children, she couldn't come. Like, so we were kind of alone. And then all of a sudden, my husband threw his back out. Mm-hmm. And my parents were out of town, and because he came 2 weeks early, so they were still on vacation, and my mother-in-law was sick. So we had no one to like help us, you know, and we had a 1-year-old toddler who was like transitioning to what on earth just happened
Yeah.
and why is daddy home and why, like
I want to climb on top of
Yeah.
you.
So that was really intense. God was definitely testing us that time. I had such a good, easy birth, and then it was like postpartum was a little chaotic. Thankfully, my baby was super chill, and he would just lay there and sleep, or lay there and be happy. Like he was, even our first night, because he was born at like 10:30 at night, and he slept through the whole night then. And I remember like I was waking up having to go to the bathroom and change things and whatnot, and we're like looking at him like, are you breathing? Like we couldn't believe that he
The
was still
first time
sleeping.
that we, obviously she's a baby who likes to be on people, held by people, people standing. The first time that we had laid her down and she actually stayed asleep somewhere other than in someone's arms and then slept there for like 2 hours. The amount of times that my husband went over and like almost poked her, but just like stared.
Like I
He's
see
like,
breathing.
I see her chest moving. Okay. And I'm on the other side of the hallway, like mopping, because I'm like, I don't know what to do with all of this time. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, whose baby is that? They're always
Right.
shocking.
So it's different. You don't know what you're going to get with each baby either. And it is a sacred time. And it's an opportunity to deepen prayer. But sometimes you are just so overwhelmed that you can't even pray. It's hard to keep that focus and to turn to prayer. So I'd like you to talk a little about this more recent book. I think you said it was like 2021 that it came out.
21.
So it was after my last birth, so I didn't get the gift of being able to read it, but I've heard amazing things. It's called A Sacred Beginning by A Sacred Beginning, Nurturing Your Body, Mind, and Soul During Baby's First 40 Days by Sarah Brangwynne and Sasha Rose Oxnard. Can you tell us a little about what the purpose of the book is? And
So I purchased it when I was pregnant with actually, I think I put it on my like wish list registry. And I think one of our parishioners actually purchased it for us at my mother blessing for my third baby, which would have been in 23. And I was just curious as to what it was all about because it had just come out and I saw it advertised places. It's a beautifully laid out book that walks you through postpartum one day at a time. So there's a reading for every day. It has a little bit of an introduction that gives you some of like what to expect in the book, what to expect postpartum, things like that. And then as you read each day at a time, it tells you different things that might be happening in the church, like naming prayers that happen on certain days and different prayers that you can pray at home. It has information about how to prepare for your returning to church at the end of it and your churching. And they have it laid out where they kind of give you advice, the authors, as they go, but they also talk about nutrition, how to nourish your body. So on each day, they have a section that is for the soul. And then it goes into their reflections. And then it has for the mind and body. And so I have I was looking through before we started, so many pages marked with different prayers that they give you to pray because they really touch on every basis of emotions that you feel when you're postpartum. I'll just read through some of the contents. So obviously it starts with birth in your first few days. It talks about detachment and obedience and repentance and remembering death and naming, thanksgiving, silence, despondency, worry, anger, insensibility, sleep, alertness, fear, all of the things that you experience when you're newly postpartum, it hits on all of them. I was telling Anna that while I read it for my postpartum is always such a journey. While I read it for my third baby, I then recommended it to many people for their babies and passed it along to many mothers that I knew who were having babies and let them borrow it. And then I had my fourth baby, and I'm currently on day 2. And my 40 days was 2 weeks ago. And I haven't taken it off my nightstand because I really do want to get back into reading it. But this postpartum hit differently. My other kids, I would say that I had more of a physical recovery. Not that it wasn't a lot emotionally, but going into my fourth postpartum, I think I was already overwhelmed at the idea of having 4 children. And so then when I actually have 4 children, I am overwhelmed.
Yeah.
My fourth postpartum, which is obviously now, I had much more of an emotional roller coaster than I remember for all of my other kids. And I remember talking to my midwife about it, even at like a week, and talking to my husband about it. And I'm like, I just don't feel right. Like, I'm like, I want to cry all the time. And I had all my friends were like, well, yeah, that's a girl does that, which is not unheard of. I've heard people say that before, that having a girl can be more of an emotional roller coaster ride. But I was like not mentally prepared for that.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, I want to cry, and now I don't want to cry, and now I'm overwhelmed just like looking at things. And I mean, even now, like walking around my house, I'm still like, she's 7 weeks old or something like that, and I'm like overwhelmed by everything. So should I read this book right now? Yeah. Have I not, because I don't want to face reality yet? Yeah.
Do you think that's what it was? Because you were probably in bed. You had the time to just sit there and
Yeah.
read it. So was it just you just didn't want to
Yeah,
face it?
it was like I knew that I was going to open up this book, and while yes, there were going to be prayers that, like, that's what I should focus on, is that there's prayers that are going to bring you through it. But I also knew that I was going to read it, and it was going to be like, you should be spending the time to let those things go like away and not focus on them. And I'm like, that's not what I want to hear.
Yeah. So you were dealing with a different struggle.
Yeah.
And I always find it interesting how, I always say it's like the anxiety demons or the hormone demons. I honestly, I feel like women are attacked through their hormones, and it's wild. Like you have to fight so hard. And obviously prayer is our best tool to fight back, our best weapon. But it's like the last thing you want to do when you're in that hormonal meltdown of whatever.
You just
is
want to
causing it.
wallow in it,
Yeah.
which is what I've wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I'm slowly pulling myself out of. But I wanted to just sit and be. And not even that I wanted to wallow in it. It was more that I didn't want to do the things that I had to do to not wallow in it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to have to spend time praying and being peaceful and being calm. And it was also hard to
Right.
spend time praying and being peaceful and being calm, because I'm blessed to have a lot of support. And I had people staying with me for 3 weeks, but at 4 weeks postpartum, I was home with 4 children under the age of 7.
Yeah.
And that's a lot.
Yeah. And it's right. You're already feeling overwhelmed, and you have so much work that you see needs done, but you're like, I know I'm not supposed to be doing it, but it's just staring me in the face. And then the prayer is like one more thing that I would have to do, and it's hard. It's a struggle.
So I started reintroducing, since I wasn't reading out of this every day, I started at least reintroducing prayer back into my evenings. So when I was pregnant, I got attacked by the every evening when you're trying to go to bed, the fear of like, something could happen. What could this happen? That could happen. Just the fear of the unknown, fear of all of the things. And I couldn't sleep, and I'd be up till like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, partly because my body was really uncomfortable. But I started, so when I was pregnant, I would pray the Jesus prayer until I fell asleep. Sometimes I'd remember praying it a few times. Other times I would sleep with my big long prayer rope next to my bed. And so then I would hold it while I was sleeping. And I always woke up with it like in the middle of our bed. Other times I remember like making it all the way around like 5 times.
Here
and
I
I'm
still
like,
am.
it's been 3 hours and I'm still awake. But at least I wasn't sitting there for 3 hours, laying there for 3 hours, dwelling on bad things. I was sitting there for 3 hours in prayer. And so I started at least reintroducing in my evenings postpartum when I would be in bed praying, because I had a moment that I realized that I spent so much time in the evenings praying the Jesus prayer when I was pregnant. And then I had the baby and then I just stopped praying. And I was like, oh yeah, maybe that would be something that can help, because you forget. It's like you have a baby and all of a sudden everything from before is completely different. You don't know where you are, what day it is, or what time it is, or what's happening. And you need to find something to center yourself. So prayer is the easiest way to start. If you're not going to read a book, then you can at least pray. And this book has so many prayers for different occasions. It has lots of scripture in it and Psalms in it. They've got Psalm 23 in it, all sorts of Psalms that it recommends. But it also has prayers for different purposes. So it's kind of why I have like all of the prayers marked in here, because when I was postpartum before, I remember thinking, I'll just flip through it and open the applicable prayer to how I'm feeling right now.
God, tell me what to pray.
So tell me what to pray. So I'll read one of them for you. So it says, maybe Anna will read us the prayer for a joyful heart. And we will sit here and be joyful, right, honey?
Okay, I'll start over. Dear Lord, thank you for blessing me to be a mother. Forgive my lack of gratitude in moments of difficulty. I pray that you will help me to be joyful in my days. I pray that the deep well of love I have for my child may bubble up to the surface and become visible to my child and those around me. Please help me to be calm in the face of turmoil and loving in the face of adversity. Please help me to be a joy and light to those around me, leading them to you through the darkness. Above all, please help me to be a beacon of your love for my family, drawing us ever closer to you. Amen. Well, that's a beautiful prayer. My goodness. I hope you could hear that over the turmoil that new mothers have to deal with. So let's talk a little about community support during this 40-day sacred 40 days, and how important community support is, and how the church can help in that process.
Well, there's a lot of different ways to support mothers, depending on how close you are with them. The easiest way, if it's a mother that maybe not everyone knows very well, or you're not as comfortable being in someone's home, is to have a meal train. And our church usually sets up a meal train for mothers when they have babies or anyone else that's experiencing something that they could use some love and support in that way. And that is a huge blessing. We this year had, it's usually set up for our first 40 days, but we probably had 3 weeks that we didn't have to cook dinner. And that was so nice to not have to worry about what we were going to eat for dinner tonight, because someone was just going to show up at your door with it. And so that's probably the easiest, simplest thing to do. And if you can't do that, then maybe like get them a gift card to go buy food somewhere,
right?
So that because food is time consuming. It's something that you have to have, and it takes time to make. So it takes time away from your family, and it's difficult to make food when you are trying to mix things and you have a baby who's like, nope, not going to happen. You're going to sit down and feed me instead.
Yeah, and I remember when my first was born, our church didn't have like, we didn't really do a meal train yet or anything like that. So my goddaughter and I were like trying to get that mentality into the parish life. So trying to teach and train people like how to help a new mother, because it really is a lost art. It's amazing. You know, we had a lot of elderly women and like that just wasn't a thing in their lives. Like everyone was expected to just be on their own and you have to just survive and do it alone. And it was so
Which
sad.
is surprising because there was like this shift. It used to be that that's what everyone did, but they also used to live in the community, in the village with the people. So when your neighbor had a baby, all 10 houses around you knew that your neighbor had a baby, and all 10 people brought you food.
Yeah.
And then people moved further away from each other and became less connected. And now it's trying to bring back the sense of we should still be functioning as a community, even if you don't live right next door to me.
Right. Which is a challenge. And you have to really plan ahead to help, you know, somebody. I mean, I know even for me, like I'm a homeschooling mother and I'm like, okay, now I have to try to figure out how to make a meal for somebody else when I'm just trying to figure out how to make a meal for myself. So yes, it does take effort. It's because we don't live in the village and it's not easy to just like stop by and even just drop off something simple, you know.
Yeah.
It takes a little more effort on our part, but that's the sacrifice we give to one another. You know, that's part of being Christ-like, is sacrificing a part of our lives for others. And, you know, it's hard in our society because that's not what our society tells us to do. You know, we should just be on our own, strong, independent women and do everything ourselves. And, you know, and because we all do live so far away from our friends and family, it's been lost. So I'm so thankful that the internet has helped bring this back to life again, and starting to re-educate people on how to care for one another properly.
Yeah. If you get to the point like I was, so this postpartum, you get to the point where I'm like, I don't want to hold this baby right now because I hold her all the time, 24/7, because she refuses to be put down. And when someone comes over, you just need to be open and willing to express your needs. I'm like, here, Anna, here's my baby.
I'm going to go shower.
I'm going to go shower and clean both of my bathrooms and discover my toilet's leaking. And I'm going to go do things. I'll be back. Here's my baby. Oh, yeah. And my other 3 children and my dog. And Anna's like, okay, see ya. But there are many ways that you can offer help. If you're closer with someone and they are comfortable with you being in your home, there's a lot of things that you can do in someone's house to just make them feel better. When I had my first baby, I obviously, if you listen to our last episode on our birth stories, I wasn't planning to go to a hospital and be in a hospital for a long time, but that's what happened. And so I had not thought about that route of like, oh yeah, I should pack a diaper bag just in case, or I should get my car seat in our car just in case. Like none of the...
I know I didn't do any of that
None
either.
of that. So my next babies, I at least was a little more prepared of like, if something were to happen, I've at least like, now I'm somewhat prepared.
Yeah.
But as a result, I also didn't have my house very like in line and ready for a newborn, because I was like, we'll just slowly, we'll slowly get around to pulling this out or doing that. And now all of a sudden we have like a couple-week-old baby and it's like nothing's ready. And so our family like went to our home while we were in the hospital and like cleaned and made sure the bathrooms were clean and tidied everything up and like organized some stuff and made sure all the dishes were done. And like, so we were coming home to like a clean slate, peaceful home. And that's a huge help.
What a blessing.
Yes, it was a major blessing.
Yeah. And to have that family and community. So What would you say to the person who doesn't have family or doesn't have like they live an hour from church? You know, what kind of things would you recommend?
I think the people that don't have a community right there with them need to give themselves much more grace than those that have a community. It's all mothers should give, I'm speaking to myself right now too. All mothers should give themselves grace when they have a baby, not just your first 40 days. Like, she's past her first 40 days and she is still very much a very needy baby. Like, I don't have more than an hour to do something at a time. And so, but I do have the resources where I could ask someone to come and help. If you don't have that, then that's fine. Tend to your baby. Because I was just thinking last night about how it feels like a lot right now, but I was remembering that in a year, she's going to be probably running around my house. Yes, she's going to need me, but I'll be able to do the dishes. I'll be able to do the laundry with babies running around. She won't need held the entire time. She won't need fed every 45 minutes. And so when you're in the thick of it, it feels like a lot. But if you don't have the help, it's okay to let everything else except for the basics go. Clean a little bit of your clothes so you have something to wear. Do they all get put away? No, probably look like my basement where you have like 17 loads sitting there and you go down to dig out of it. Use paper products if you need to. I mean, that was one of the things when we have a new baby, we pull out some paper plates a lot of times for a couple weeks because we're like, no one wants to do dishes. A needy baby. So give yourself grace and understanding that, like, if all I can do is keep everyone alive, then I'm doing great. Like, when my husband comes home, he doesn't expect anything to be done except for people to be alive. And if everyone is alive, we're all good.
Yeah.
You know, feed yourself. That's another like big one.
Right.
If you can't make your own food, then go buy some healthy, nutritious snacks to keep. I lived off of like lactation snacks for 2 weeks postpartum because I was just like, I don't have the time to cook for myself. And I have all these people helping with my kids, but my kids are really needy. So they're feeding my children.
Busy, yeah.
And then I'm over here like kind of forgotten that I need to also eat. So it's like, eat a bunch of snacks that are
I brought
healthy.
you protein balls that I had made, and your son was like, I want one. I was like, no, that's for mama only.
One of my best friends came over and like opened up my, like when I wasn't home, I was out somewhere with my kids. Honestly, don't even remember where we went that early, but we went out somewhere. She came over and like went into my house, went into my bedroom and hung snacks for me on the inside of my bedroom door because she was like, I didn't want them to be found by all of the little hands because these are not for them.
Oh, that's sweet. Yeah, so I know some women are really good about prepping freezer meals
Yes,
ahead of
meal
time while
prepping.
they're pregnant and nesting anyways. That's not something I was good at or ever did. Thankfully, my husband is an excellent cook and
Yeah.
likes to cook. So I remember he took pictures of like every postpartum meal he made because he was just so proud and so happy to be able to be home to cook these
Yeah.
meals. So I was able to rely on that. Whereas if you don't have that, you have to prep ahead of time and make sure you have freezer meals, freezer snacks.
Yeah, an Instant Pot or a crock pot. I think it was with my second, I ended up making a lot of freezer meals, thinking that after my first and not being prepared for postpartum, I was like, we're going to be so prepared for postpartum. So I made all of these meals. But then again, my husband is a wonderful cook and he cooks a lot of our dinners because I cook food from scratch the rest of the day. And he ended up just making dinner. And so then we like have a freezer full of meals that we forgot about until 6 months later. And we're like, oh, look, we've got postpartum dinners.
Yeah, nice. We get a little break.
But if you don't have that kind of help, if you're a single parent, if you're both working parents and you go back to work very soon, if you don't have community support nearby, then when you're making your dinners, when you're pregnant, double up some of them and put it into a bag and put it in the freezer so that you can easily take it out and just heat it up.
Yeah, and like you had said, ask people if they can give gift cards to either a local restaurant or DoorDash or something.
Or send meals. Maybe you can link wherever it was the women had sent meals when I was pregnant.
We had a place where we know we could get gluten-free, decent ingredients meals sent to you. Especially because I think you were still living far away too. Yes. So it was hard for people to get to you. So that was an easier way, just send the meal that way. And for our church, we use takethememeal.com. And on there you can send meals also. If you are not a cook or you live far away and you can't bring, or what we do at church also, we say, bring a meal on Sunday, and then the family or a friend can deliver it to the family for you if you live far away or
because
you're not
after
that
that first week or two, like my husband at least, he went back to church with all of our children. Right. I think he stayed home the first Sunday after, but then after that he went back to church with my kids, and that's a weird time actually. I remember your mom texting me asking how I was doing. And it was on a Sunday. And I'm like, yeah, I'm well. It's just weird. It's a very odd sensation especially if you've grown up like we have and you go to church every Sunday your entire life. And then all of a sudden you're just at home on a Sunday morning for weeks.
Yeah, so let's talk about that because it was very different with my first baby staying home for 40 days from church versus my third baby. My first baby, like I said, I was a little more ready to get out sooner, and I wasn't as heavily involved in the church at that time because I had just moved back in the last, couple of years, and I was head of the missions committee, but it wasn't a whole lot to have to take care of, so I had a lot more free time.
Yeah.
And so I do remember being itching to get back to church, and my husband wasn't Orthodox yet, so he didn't go to church on his own during that time. He did stay home. I remember my mom being like, he can come to church without you. And I was like, I know, I don't know if he feels comfortable yet doing that. And then by the second one, that's when he converted with my second, when his baptism. And so he was a little more comfortable, and he would go to church with my son. So at least then I would have the house to myself, peace and quiet, at least on a Sunday morning. So it is part of that sacredness. You're not in church, but you get to be in peace and quiet
with a baby
and just, you can listen to prayers or read prayers if you wanted to instead. But that's your
my
gift
baby saved her anger for Sunday mornings when I was home alone. And I'm calling my husband asking, when are you going to come home?
Yeah. So I guess, it definitely depends on the baby's nature. I liked it, especially, like I said, by the third baby, I'm much more involved in the church and have much more responsibilities that I was like, I like not having to be responsible for anything and nobody telling me or asking me to do something. And, it really was a gift. It felt like a gift by that point.
You give yourself the grace to step back from things and be like, nope, I'm not. I mean, like our podcast, we were like, yep, we're just not doing it. There wasn't a question about how am I going to get there with my 1-week-old baby? We're like, no, it's just not going to happen. We're going to stop, to take a break. And it's okay to take a break and have a baby and be with your baby.
Yeah, and not have to worry about all the millions of things that need done, and because you're already behind on a lot of things. Yeah, so it is a gift, and it's not to be seen as a punishment. Obviously, if you really feel like you need to come back, talk with your priest. Most of them, they'll let you come back. You just have to get.
But sometimes they'll tell you not to,
or they might.
Sometimes they'll tell you that you need to take some time to learn how to be away.
Right. It depends on your spiritual journey, and they know you best and what you need. But if they see that you're really struggling and you would do better back at church, I'm sure they would give you that blessing. So it's not like a hard and fast rule. It's just a guidance and a tradition, a small T tradition.
Yeah. Now let's talk about when you do return to church. And can you talk about what it feels like and how you approached bringing your baby to church for the first couple months?
Yeah, so my first was born when we didn't have a priest at the time. Our priest had retired, and so we were still in between, we were like interviewing priests at the time. And now our current priest, he was coming back, or he was coming to visit and serve the liturgy the weekend I was my 40 days. So I was able to come back that weekend and actually get churched. I remember I came to Vespers in the evening because my husband was working. He was bartending at the time, so he was working in the evening. So I'm like, well, I might as well go to church so I can like get out and see people. And and so I did go to Vespers. So I didn't actually end up getting churched that evening. I thought I would, but that's not, I guess, what happens. I don't know. I didn't know. And I had no real priest to talk to about this. So that was a little challenging time. So then the next morning for Divine Liturgy is when our priest then did the official churching. So like we said, there's prayers on the first day of birth that a priest could come to your house on that first day, or especially if you're at a hospital, that tends to be a little more common than a home birth, that the priest would come to the hospital that day and say special prayers. And then there's the 8th day naming prayers, which is when you would traditionally give the baby their name, correct? Here is that, how that works.
I'm looking up. Yes.
And so I know I was reminiscing because we didn't have a priest with my first baby. I do remember there was a priest at our church who wasn't serving at the time, but he and his wife did come. They blessed our house since we had just moved, and I'm assuming maybe they did the 8th day naming prayers, and they also
and that stems from here. I did find it. I won't read the whole prayer for it, but it stems from Luke 2:21, and it says, "And when 8 days were completed for the circumcision of the child, his name was called Jesus, the name given by the angel before he was conceived in the womb." And so that's where the tradition of the 8th day naming comes from.
So most people, the priest will come to the house to do that. I've also seen the tradition of you going to the front of the church, outside of the church, and them doing it there also.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, maybe I would say maybe in larger parishes where there might be several women who need to, have naming prayers, it might be easier for the priest if you just do it all at once. But if you're like me and my midwife recommended you don't get out of bed for 2 weeks, follow the Amish. That was her Amish client.
Always
She's
her
like,
recommendation.
they stay in bed for 2 weeks.
I was
you
like,
might not
don't
do
have to tell me twice.
Yeah, no, I do remember like my first, it was hard because we lived like upstairs, and she was like, no, you shouldn't really be doing the stairs. And I was like, really? Like, I had no idea. And I also didn't realize, like, this is another part of postpartum healing that you don't, like, I didn't realize that you would bleed after birth. Somehow I missed that in all of my research I was doing on birth and babies and stuff. Like, I knew there would be some, but I didn't realize it could last 6 weeks. And mine, of course, did last the entire 6 weeks. So this is just something I had no idea, and so it makes sense to just take it easy. Your body's still healing. Your womb is literally healing during those full 6 weeks. It's not just 2 weeks. It took
and
all
beyond.
of 6 weeks. Yeah. Right. And beyond. But the bleeding that goes that long. So it's definitely legitimate that your womb is still healing. And usually your midwife or doctor won't recommend you go swimming in a pool or anything before that time.
And that's part of the women not coming to church at the time, because they could be seen as unclean because you're bleeding.
Yeah. And think about it, at that time, like, they didn't have the modern sanitary products. So, like, why would you want to go to church during that time? Like, that's, that would be hard, So, and I've also heard of the So our midwife says 2 weeks, but there's also the 5-5-5 rule. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
Like 5 days in bed, 5 days near the bed, 5 days around the bed. But essentially the same thing. Like you really should not be going out of the house much. If anything, I went to like
She
my
came back for our
deck.
2 week like checkup, I think it was, or no, it was our 1 week, and my husband's like, "Yep, she basically lives in bed," and I was like, "Yep." I shut my door because the second I walk out into the rest of my house, there are children jumping on top of
You see
us, and that
chaos,
is
yeah.
way too overwhelming. So I was like, "We just live in our little bubble right here."
Especially, yes, once you have more than one child. It's like, nope, this is my little retreat.
Yeah, and it's hard because like even now my children all like they just want to hold her and love her and all of these things. And I'm like, "I'm sorry, she doesn't want you. Like she wants nothing to do with you."
She only wants mama.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yes, the 8-day naming prayers, basically, you kind of give them the child their name by then,
Yeah.
which I know for us, the one baby, it took us 3 full days to figure out his name. It was a name that I had thought of the week before he was born, but it took us that long to really
Be certain.
be certain that it was his name. And then many years later, I realized on the old calendar, that was his feast day. I was like, oh,
Perfect.
that makes sense.
Again, it all makes sense
It all works out. So after the 40 days or on the 40 days, you can return back to church that Sunday.
And I have the scripture for that too, which that's also from Luke. It's Luke 2:22. It says, "Now when the days of her purification according to the law of Moses were completed, they brought him to Jerusalem to present him to the Lord." And so that's, again, the explanation as to why once our 40 days have passed, now the mother and the baby can return to the church.
Right, even though the baby's not baptized yet, this is the official welcoming of the baby and welcoming the mother back because she's been 40 days of not receiving communion or going to confession. So this is her formal reintroduction.
Yeah. So how do you handle returning to church after your 40 days and dealing with what might be the overwhelm of having people all wanting to be right up on you with your baby?
Yeah, I do remember that. I personally would just baby wear. I'd use a wrap or a sling or carrier of some sort, and just keep the baby on me because I personally was not someone who felt comfortable passing my baby around at any point, and definitely not in those first few months when they're just so small and they are either sleeping or eating anyways. Yeah, and you didn't want all these people touching and kissing and just you're more protective of your baby. And so I know a lot of people that's hard for women. They're like, how do I return? They have this anxiety about returning to church and being around a lot of people, and they might be scared of germs or whatever. And that's the best way, is just to wear a wrap and let your husband know also, like, I don't feel comfortable giving the baby to other people right now. So either I'm carrying them or you're carrying them, and that's it,
Yeah.
And most people
Let your wishes be known. And I remember it's kind of evolved in our parish because at the time, like when I was having my first and you were having your third, we did still have a lot of elderly people in our church. And it was like, there was no stopping them from walking up and kissing your baby, like right in the face. And I'm like, I don't even kiss my baby like in the middle of the face like that. And so I kind of did the same thing where it's like, you just put your baby in a carrier and it helps ease, like for me at least, it helped ease my feelings because I was like, okay, yeah, she's here. Like my baby's right on me. I don't need to be concerned about the baby, being behind me 3 rows and what they're doing back there and hovering over them. I don't need to be concerned about people touching the baby, and we can just be here and focus. And for the first few months, the babies usually just sleep through the whole service anyway. I have a baby like half awake for communion. I'm like, here you go, and then back to sleep.
Yeah.
Or if you are comfortable with like a person or two, then I was going to tell the story. So I came back to church, not to church, to our church hall a week before I was supposed to come back to church. in my pajamas on a Sunday morning when we all woke up and our well pump had died. And so I'm like walking through the church and I'm like, I've got this baby and I need to give her to someone somewhere because I need to go find some help from the men at the church to come to my house. And if you have situations that you want to pass your baby to someone or need to pass your baby to someone, it's okay to like give the one person that you're comfortable with your baby and then say, please don't pass them around. Not that they would, but
Or let anyone touch their face or whatever your
like just a
are,
reminder, because sometimes people don't know and it becomes like you have to remember. And one of our ladies said it the other night at a women's gathering that we had, like she was just laying there peacefully sleeping and she was like, that's a whole person. And I was like, yeah, it becomes very easy for people to forget that like this is an entire person. And they're not a toy, you know, they're not an object. They're not a stuffed animal. They have a nervous system. They need to be comfortable and they don't want to be scared being passed around from person to person.
Right.
So like if you give them to one person, it's okay to just gently remind the person, like, please don't pass them to anyone else.
When you're done, just come back to me.
Yeah, just bring them back to me.
Yeah.
Like it's okay to like you warm up enough to be like, okay, Anna, I can have you hold my baby. Or like my mother-in-law who's, you know, at my church. I'm like, I go to the couple of people that I know that will be calm and not up all in their face and respectful. And then you just remind them, because not that they would want to pass your baby around, but it becomes this thing where like everyone just has baby fever and they see your baby. And so then they walk up and they're like, can I have her? Can I have her? Can I have her? And then you have your baby passed around to hundreds of people.
Yeah. And it's like you put yourself in the baby's shoes, like what is going on? Who are these people? These are all very different smells and sounds. Like it's just not respectful to the child to do that. So it is important to protect their space also in that manner.
Yeah. So baby wearing is an easy way to do that.
Yes.
Making sure your husband and the people close to you also are all aware of your feelings and intentions is important.
Yeah. I know some people, they'll just like quickly say like, oh, touch her feet, please.
Yes.
Or you know, when
That's
they go
what I
to
tell people when they try to come up
touch
close
their
to
hands
baby.
or face. And yeah, it's hard because you are still hormonal. So you're still vulnerable and you have these kind of not normal to you usually feelings that you're dealing with. And so you just have to be, and as hard as it is to tell people, like you just have to be open and honest with people of how you're feeling and what your expectations are. Another thing I thought of when you're postpartum and at home, I put a sign on my door of like ways you can help or what the expectations were. So one, I wouldn't have to say it to someone's face and like offend them. Like, nope, here, right before you walk in the door, like what the expectations are. Like, please don't wear perfume or cologne. Please wash your hands if you're going to hold the baby, or, these are the different like laundry or dishes.
And those are nice reminders even for your church community, because someone might want to bring you a meal and they have never had a baby before and they don't think about something like that. So I know, Anna, when you usually set up meals, you put right on there, like if you want to visit, plan that in advance. Make sure the mother knows that you intend on staying to visit. And if you're going to stay and visit, then offer to help do something or do this or that. And please don't wear strong scents of perfume and wash your hands and just the basics.
Right. Because not everybody knows or wears or was raised with parents who teach them these things.
Yeah.
So all in all, it's the first 40 days is just a time, and beyond, is a time to give yourself grace and rest and just enjoy this time for all that it is, good and bad, because it goes so fast. You blink and they're teenagers and you're like, take me back. So it's as hard as it is. Yeah, here.
I'm going to go shopping today.
But as hard as it is in the moment, try to enjoy every moment of it, and don't wait. My girlfriend gave me the advice, like, we never let ourselves say, like, I can't wait until they do this. Just enjoy what is happening today because that will come and then that will pass so quickly that you won't enjoy the present moment. So even if it's hard or stressful or anxiety ridden, like just enjoy your child at this point and your body and your life, and be thankful that you are even given the gift of a child and able to co-create and raise up, God willing, little saints. I'll close with a scripture. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28.
It's on my birth banner.
Oh,
Read that many times. Thank you for tuning in to Veiled in Grace. We are an Orthodox women's lifestyle podcast. If you like what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share with a friend.
and please leave us a comment of anything postpartum that you'd like to share with us and our listeners, anything we didn't mention, ideas, or maybe experiences you've had. Let's, keep this community open and the discussion open and going. God bless you. We love you.
What shall I render to the Lord for all his bounty to me? I will lift up the cup of salvation.